You're listening to the Future Tech Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies such as artificial intelligence, stem cells, 3D printing, gene editing, Bitcoin, blockchain, the microbiome, quantum computing, virtual reality, and exploring space are much closer than you might think. In fact, many early versions of these technologies are in play right now, and the companies that are using these technologies are the focus of this podcast. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a thorny medical problem. Remember, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you enjoyed the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and tell your friends about it. Thank you. Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Future Tech and Future Tech Health podcasts, and I have Thom King. He's the author of a book called Gone Keto. He's also the head of Icon Foods. And we're talking today, it's particularly relevant because we're doing a long series on, the keto diet and health. And Thom's company, Icon Foods, is also going to be at the Metabolic Health Summit, which is literally just days away. It's going to be in Southern California, Long Beach area, and there's going to be hundreds of exhibitors and speakers on all kinds of metabolic health issues. And Thom will be there with Icon Foods. So Thom, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing terrific, Rich. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm super excited for the Metabolic Health Summit. It's going to be a blast. I'll be totally geeking out.
Yeah. Have you been to the summit before, or is this your first year?
I haven't. It's my first year, but a lot of people that I've worked with, on our food ingredient side with Icon Foods, they've all been before and they're all part of it. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Like one big huge happy family getting together.
Well, very good. So what's your background? What got you to be interested in health and keto eating and all that stuff?
Well, I grew up in Colorado on a ranch, and ultimately ended up moving to Arizona. And I ran into a gentleman whose name is Jim May, and he was sort of a pioneer in finding herbs and different various compounds on his treks through Central America. And I happened to run into him, and he had some green paste in a jar. He said, "Hey, would you try this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" Tried it, and in its natural state, it was about 25 times sweeter than sugar. And at that point, a light bulb went off in my head, and it's like, there has to be, a natural way to, extract these sweet constituents from the leaves and actually make it a usable sweetener. So that sort of started me down down the path of health, and became a lot, interested in definitely in metabolic health, and actually, creating a company that, that does good by, reducing the amount of sugar that people eat.
Was what he found like a cousin of stevia, or what's the name of the compound or the plant that makes it sweet?
Well, I mean, the plant is called is just stevia plant, but the sweet constituents that are called glycosides exert plants, not just stevia. So, like if you pick up a piece of grass, on the root, you'll taste, a sweetness, and those, so they exist in nature. In some places in higher concentrations, in other places lower concentrations. But the beauty of a glycoside is that it has a fairly pronounced sweet technical effect, but does not affect blood sugar levels, has no carbs, 0 calories.
Do you know if it causes an insulin response?
It doesn't. And what's interesting is I've been on a few podcasts where some individuals have made claims that monk fruit and stevia, monk fruit's another high intensity or source for high intensity sweetener, and a couple individuals have made claims that they do have an insulin response, but I have done the tests myself. So like I pulled blood before and after consuming both stevia and monk fruit, and there's never been any type of a rise in my blood sugar levels. But I can't say the same for like aspartame or sucralose. Like those don't exist in nature, so I think your body becomes confused by what it is. It's sweet, but what do we do? How do we metabolize it? So you do get the benefit of calorie abatement, but you also will trigger a bit of an insulin response from those types of artificial sweeteners.
Okay. Well, sorry to take you off track. So you discovered this, or it was shown to you, and what happened next?
Well, what happened next is, I had a regular day job, and trying to find a proprietary water extraction method to release those sweet constituents became my side hustle. So, I met Jim May in '92, and then by '99, I had found a company that could extract the stevioglycosides from the leaves using just pure water and then an ethanol wash. And yeah, so we started importing it into the country. And by 2008, the FDA approved it as a sweetening compound, generally regarded as safe, so it could be used as a food additive. And that's when our business really started to take off.
Okay, and then so what is it that you sell? Are you selling just the sweetener, or is it foods that have the sweetener in it, or recipes, or what's the premise of Icon Foods?
We're an ingredient supplier. So if you ever had like a bar that's, like low sugar, keto friendly, bar, chances are you've had our sweetener. So we're in a bunch of different bars. We are in a bunch of different, powdered drink mixes. We manufacture chocolate chips. So I would say our primary source of revenue is based on ingredient sales. So we supply, thousands of keto-friendly companies, sports nutrition companies with a variety of different sweeteners. And so we don't just sell stevia. I mean, that's how I started the company. But I would say that our claim to fame is we actually sell a sweetening system that can be a plug-and-play replacement for sugar.
What have you noticed is the interplay between stevia and other sweeteners, and any expertise you've garnered on how different companies are doing it right versus maybe not so good to make really delicious products?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. We do have an R&D facility here. I mean, we've got a 3,000 square foot lab that we do help our customers reformulate. And what I would say that the people that are maybe not doing it as well as they could are overusing stevia or overusing monk fruit. When that happens, you can get off notes. I think being able to identify each product, like what type of functionality are you looking for? I mean, if you're making a bar, you need something that has sort of humectant properties that hold the bar together. So these are all factors that that we take a look at in each process, and we can develop a custom sweetening system that addresses both functionality and macros. But we've also got plug-and-play solutions that use a variety of different polyols like erythritol and xylitol, and we also use allulose. So we do mix a lot of compounds, so it makes it easier for food manufacturers to use, and then ultimately makes for a better product.
So now that there's hindsight, I mean, bars and other stuff, it's obvious to put stevia and other sweeteners in it. Any non-obvious places or interesting or strange places that you've seen that it works really well?
Yeah, I mean, the strange places I would say are probably toothpaste, lip balm. Also, one that's sort of surprising to us, the horses and dogs love the flavor of stevia. So we do sell to a lot of pet food manufacturers, and they use it in treats. So that was sort of an unexpected category for us.
Okay, gotcha. So today, as it stands, what are you going to be bringing to the Metabolic Health Summit? It sounds like you sell more B2C. So what are you going to be showcasing there?
Well, I wrote a book that came out last May called Gone Keto. And part of that whole process, part of the whole process of like going keto, I found that I was missing, condiments, like ketchup and barbecue sauce and teriyaki sauce, steak sauce. So keeping that in mind, I jumped into the lab and actually created a line for my own personal use, and then found that there was a pretty huge demand on it. So we will be bringing our full line of Gone Keto condiments. And then Icon Foods, we also created mocktail mixes. So, people that are going to be going to the VIP and the gala will be able to have those. Like you can have a Moscow Mule, a margarita, or a mojito with no alcohol and no sugar. But if you want to, spice it up a little bit, you can certainly add, a shot of, whatever the, tequila, rum, or vodka in those respective drinks. So we're bringing cocktail mixes, we're bringing steak sauce, and variety packs for people to be able to try our condiments.
Well, it sounds like you're going to be very popular. That's great. I'll be there, and I'm looking forward to trying your products. It sounds really good.
Thanks. I hope I'm popular. We'll see.
Well, people want to eat healthy, and you're eating healthy, but you're faced with a tough piece of meat with no sauce on it, or something that's just dry. That sauce really spices it up and makes it palatable. So you can see why it's so popular.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. And I mean, people that are in the, people that are keto heads fully get how much sugar there is in condiments. So, but I think that a lot of the public doesn't really grasp that, that ketchup and barbecue sauce have more sugar than ice cream. So, when you slather on a bunch of ketchup on your hamburger, you just added a bowl of ice cream to your meal. So, yeah, it's nice to have those condiments and the steak sauce. I think I like to consider our steak sauce sort of the love child between Heinz 57 and A1. So I think it's real solid. I've had a lot of positive feedback on it, and I'm hoping to get just as much positive feedback at the Metabolic Health Summit.
A question just popped into my head. A lot of people are starting to take exogenous ketones. I take them, the ketone salts and the ketone esters. Have you found anything that pairs, if it's even possible, pairs well with those two substances so they're not like black?
Okay, so with the ketone salts, yes. Like there's a lot of things that we can do to make ketone salts more palatable. That's pretty easy. Ketone esters, not so much. I think that probably the secret to ketone esters is just to shoot them as fast as you can and try to keep them down. I use ketone esters if I'm really looking to get into deep ketosis. So, but I can tell you that it's never been a pleasant experience for me. Yeah. But I'm sure that I'll be doing some at the Metabolic Health Summit. And but with the salts are a different animal. So it's not too difficult, using sweeteners and various flavors and other compounds to sort of mask the off notes in those.
Okay. And then I just because you make sauces and flavorings for foods, I just feel like you're a food expert.
I spend a lot of time in the lab. So like just in the past, just as an example, in the past 3 months, I've developed 5 different types of cereals. We've developed keto pops. I've got 6 different bake mixes. So, we do a ton of R&D here. So, if there's, and plus just because I have my own brand, I like to engage quite a bit with consumers and having people that follow a ketogenic lifestyle make requests like, hey, I'm really interested in this or that. So I'm always open to those because, I like to spend time in the lab.
Well, my question then is, everyone says there's a lot of hidden sugars in foods. So you identified, ketchup and other sauces are like a big source of it. If you were to rank the hidden sources of sugar in foods, what are the top ones so it helps people avoid them, whether they may be unaware of where it's coming from?
Well, I would say that absolutely the number one source of hidden sugars would be condiments. like condiments, pasta sauces, dressings, all of those are completely loaded with sugar. And, a lot of people don't think the pasta sauce like has sugar in it, but if you read the label, you're going to find that a lot of them do. And I would also say a lot of beverages, a lot of beverages, that say, all natural, organic. If you read the label, it has organic cane sugar in it. That doesn't really help you. I mean, just because it's organic, it's still sugar, and it's still going to trigger a insulin response. And because sugar is part glucose and part fructose, that fructose will go into your to be metabolized in your liver, which will prevent you from metabolizing fats into ketones.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed, for instance, even jerky. I've gotten, I don't want to name names of brands or anything, but I've gone to the store,
Right.
to try to eat more keto, and I like, oh, jerky, yeah, this should be good. And I look at it, it has like, 6 or 7 grams per serving of sugar, and I'm thinking,
I know,
man, you can't get away from this stuff. What are you gonna do?
Switch to pork rinds.
Okay.
Because like jerky, like for I like jerky once in a while, but jerky also is like not. I don't think that it's a super great keto food. Like keto is going to be 70% fat, 20% protein, 10% like fibrous cruciferous vegetables. Like getting your carbs from vegetables that grow above the ground. So if you introduce too much protein into your system, it's going to knock you out of keto. So like my go-to snack is pork rinds, super high in fat, decent protein, 0 carbs.
Okay, very good. So let's talk a little bit about your Guy Gone Keto book. So what what's unique about the book, and what prompted you to write it?
That's a great question. What's unique about it is I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that it's a keto book. I mean, it's called Guy Gone Keto. It definitely, it's about my ketogenic journey, but my book is very different than I would say all of the keto books out there, because I mean, most of it is about what it took to be able to make a lifestyle change. So that book is really sort of a confessional for me, because, I started writing it 4 years ago when I really, decided to adopt a ketogenic lifestyle. And I say ketogenic lifestyle because, I mean, if you're on a ketogenic diet, I can tell you that diets don't work. I mean, you have to make a lifestyle shift. And I had been on and off keto for 10 years. Like I'd use keto when I started feeling a little fat, I'd lose weight and then go off keto, and then boom, I'd be right back, gain the weight back plus some. So I was kind of on this yo-yo weight thing.
Right.
So it was about 4 years ago. I was in Vegas and went out to dinner with some clients, and they paid, and I had a steak and a potato and some cake and a bottle of wine, and got back to my room and just, looked in the mirror, and it's like I just didn't like what I saw. And I think at that point, the pain of carrying 35 pounds of extra weight and blood pressure, being on blood pressure meds and just not living a life as with as good of integrity as I could, I think that caused, the level of pain to exceed the pleasure that I was deriving from those bad habits. So part of my process was journaling. Like I'm going to write this stuff down. I'm going to do data collection, and I really, made it a routine and a promise to myself that every single morning that I would journal. And I found myself journaling more and more about my lifestyle change and about how to adopt a ketogenic lifestyle. And yeah, before I knew it, I had, 200 pages of content. So it just became a book.
And what kind of feedback have you gotten? It's been out, you said 7 months, 8 months?
Yeah. So when it first came out, it was a #1 Amazon bestseller in category. And I've got, 100% 5-star rating on it. So I think people have enjoyed it. And, people that I talk to at events and stuff have told me that they really loved the book, that it sort of caught them off guard because they thought they were going to be flipping through a bunch of recipes and meal plans. And really what they end up flipping through is, this is what it's going to take for you to make a lifestyle change. And if you're making a lifestyle change into keto, these are the steps that you're going to need to take. So it sort of integrates, mind, body, spirit. So it's a little different that way. And, and people seem to like it. And then it gets pretty personal. Some of the personal struggles I had in there. And so some of the people will come up to me and just give me a hug. So which is nice.
I bet that the specific personal challenges you had, that's probably what catches the most people. And, people that maybe have had the exact same or similar challenges, I would guess they probably reach out to you, maybe in confidence. But I'm putting words in your mouth, but what kind of feedback have you gotten that surprised you? Anything like super personal or unusual or interesting?
Some of the feedback that I've gotten, that it has been very personal, about people that have been in abusive relationships and used food as medication, and when they were able to make a lifestyle shift and and the brain fog lifted, that they were able to make decisions to about that particular relationship or relationships that they needed to get out of. I mean, a lot of people, sort of that internal, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you, are self-medicating with food and, feeling, low self-worth, then you're going to be involved in situations that prey on that type of stuff. So those are the comments that usually make me want to give the person a hug, because it's, when you see triumph like that, those are the things that really move me. When somebody makes, a real lifestyle change and you can see it on them. I mean, it's, you see somebody dropping a bunch of weight, and how good they feel about themselves. And that is absolutely 100% the most rewarding part of having that book out.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. So what are you working on now? I mean, what are some of the new things that you're working on creating over the next year?
Well, I'd like to release the keto pops. So we made like a keto version of Otter Pops, which are really awesome. I'd like to see those come out, like baking mixes. We're working on a line of flavored MCT powders. Yeah, probably half a dozen new products that we'll be adding to the Gone Keto line. And I've probably got at least 50 products that I'm developing for other clients right now. So yeah, I'd say 2019 is going to be a big year for new keto products.
Are there any foods that are like super difficult to ketoize?
Yeah. Yes, there are several. I mean, there's one that I'm working on right now. I've got to put, I'm going to have to get super creative with it. So I'm trying to create sugar-free meringues, like a meringue cookie. And I am having a hell of a time getting it to be super firm. So that's pastries, any type of flaky pastries. That's always a big challenge for me. Meringues are a huge challenge. And then, having customers have like crazy restrictions. Like, okay, so we can't have anything that's got corn in it, and we can't have anything that has, that's GMO, and we don't want any sugar alcohols, and we can't have any inulin. And they just keep like, narrowing it down to the point where it's like, well, I can give you this cup of water. Follow your rules, but sometimes that can be a bit of a challenge, and I'll work through it.
Have you tried to make any foods with ketone salts in them, or is that just not workable?
There's such sort of off notes with it that it's too difficult to include it into a food. I mean, I know that there's some MCT oils out there, like there's some powdered MCT that's been blended with BHB, and it's not bad, but I'm not sure that it is really great as a food ingredient. I mean, I could be wrong, and I love it when I'm wrong, because some people come along and just be like, no, here, this is the perfect, delicious bar that's, loaded with exogenous ketone salts, so enjoy. So I hope somebody does, but I haven't used it as a food ingredient per se.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering if it was possible and if anyone's been doing that. But for the future.
Yeah, I mean, anything is possible. Yeah, anything is possible. Probability is always a factor. But if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I want to create a bar. I want to create, some sort of a snack food, with BHB in it," I would, yeah, I mean, I would take a stab at it. I'm not 100% sure that it would be very delicious, but I could be wrong.
I guess there'll be no like keto and ester chocolate chip cookies in the future either, for sure, right?
No. No, I mean, if actually somebody can come up with a decent tasting cookie that contains gasoline, I would say that probably you could use the base for the esters, because to me the esters, it's like I would say that the esters for me are like somewhere between diesel fuel and kerosene, probably closer to kerosene, and that's. I'm surprised I'm surprised it doesn't kill you, because it tastes like it could.
Well, I wonder if like fermented products, like kombuchas or things like that, would maybe go along with like ketone salt profiles. I don't know. Just thinking.
Like fermented products?
Yeah, I just wonder if fermented products would be able to, to mesh with those kind of flavors from the ketone salts. Forget about esters, but at least salts. That just ruminations in my mind. That's all.
That's not a bad idea. Like if you had say kimchi or sauerkraut.
Yeah, because you get very unusual flavors and strange notes, as you call them, in those kind of products. So maybe that would hide it. It would just all blend into like, oh, well, it's fermented, so it's going to taste like that. And it's still good.
I like fermented foods. I mean, I make a lot of them myself. So it's, I would say, yeah, I mean, that could be maybe something like a sauerkraut or a kimchi or something that already has like salty, sour, sort of astringent notes in it, that it might pair well with it. I don't know. You could always go to the store and buy some kimchi and drop a couple tablespoons of BHB in it, see how it tastes.
Yeah, I don't know if this would be good for you, but like the way I take exogenous ketones, I use an unflavored one. I use like Keto Force, and I put like some lemon juice in it and water and some MCT oil, and it tastes really like a margarita. So I wonder if you make like alcoholic drinks with the BHB in it, if it would go well, like a sour one,
Like with real alcohol in it.
Again, it probably wouldn't be good for you, but a martini, like you said, probably that would go a long way to making like maybe like a sour, mocktail. Probably would work with the ketone salts.
Yeah, I think that would
very
work.
limited experimentation.
Yeah, because I've had like ketone salts before that that were citrus flavored. And citrus, I mean, for me, citrus is probably one of the most, I would say, pronounced or most successful flavors that I use for masking things. Like I get a lot of requests for energy drinks, and most of those are citrus, because citrus will cover up just about anything.
Yeah. Well, that's what I use. So, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a good method to choke those things down.
Yeah. Well, very good. So, at the Metabolic Health Summit, you're going to have a booth, right? Are you speaking, or you just have a booth?
I'm not speaking. I have a book that I'll be signing, and then we'll also have a booth that we'll be giving away condiments, sweeteners, stuff from the Gone Keto portfolio, as well as some of the stuff that that we have as far as sweeteners go for Icon Foods. So both Icon Foods and Gone Keto will be represented there.
Okay. Well, very good. So how can listeners get your book, and then how can they learn more about Icon Foods in preparation for hopefully seeing you at the summit?
Well, everybody can go to guygoneketo.com. You can order the book there. If you order the book online, I'll autograph it for you. You can go to Amazon, pick up the book. If you want to see our condiments, definitely guygoneketo.com. If you want to see what we're up to as far as like sweeteners and research and development of new products, definitely go to iconfoods.com. And then if you on every social, if you put in Gone Keto or just me, Thom King, ThomKing, I'm on all the socials, so ping me, direct message me if you've ever got questions or have ideas that you want me to play around what's in the lab, reach out.
Okay. Well, Thom, thanks for coming, and I love your unique twist on making keto foods. The sauces and the condiments are a great idea. So thanks for coming.
Nice. Yeah, definitely stop by the booth and try them out. I think you might like them.
All right, great. Hold on a second.
You're listening to the Future Tech Podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies such as artificial intelligence, stem cells, 3D printing, gene editing, Bitcoin, blockchain, the microbiome, quantum computing, virtual reality, and exploring space are much closer than you might think. In fact, many early versions of these technologies are in play right now, and the companies that are using these technologies are the focus of this podcast. My goal for you, the listener, is to learn from these podcasts. You may very well learn something that may change the course of your life for the better, steer you towards a new career, or give you insight into addressing a thorny medical problem. Remember, this podcast and its content is informational in nature only. No medical, tax, legal, financial, or psychological advice is being given. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please listen, subscribe, like, and tell your friends about it. Thank you.